Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto anime review. This one's going to be for episode 275. This episode seemed to, in just the second episode, basically completely resolve the whole Suzura zoo amusement park thing, Hawk related plot. But interestingly, it used the last couple of minutes of the episode to set up Boruto as going on what seems to be a completely unrelated arc. So an interesting, just direct transition into another arc. But at the same time, the episode also with Sasuke, to sort of separate Boruto and Sasuke, had Sasuke go off on his mission to search for code, which, if you've read the manga, you know that is something that gets kind of brought up, that Sasuke will come back later and reveal that, hey, I found where code is, or what kind of used to be his headquarters. We'll address that when we get to the next manga arc, of course. But interesting, the first mention in quite a while of stuff that really relates to the kind of main story. We have been in anime original arcs for quite a while now, to the point where it's almost easy to forget that, oh yeah, Kara and stuff like that. All these important details of things that did happen basically a year plus ago, it feels like. But anyway, how did they resolve the kind of plot that we were dealing with? They devoted most of the episode to it, but I like that they didn't spend more time than they needed to here. This didn't really have the depth to it. We did get a little bit of backstory on the mother here, highlighting that she felt kind of forgotten. One day she got lost. People didn't actually come to look for her. She found a rare animal which actually gave some food to her. And it felt like, oh, this should be a positive takeaway from this backstory. But other than the fact that she was sort of saved because of this, the main takeaway is that this is what starts her interest in rare animals, because it seems like she used this to gain fame and notoriety. And then the kind of big reveal is, of course, that her kind of fur scarf is made from this rare animal. So just highlighting, she's meant to be kind of this, villainous character, basically. Not good. You're not meant to really have much, depth in terms of the discussion about her. She's just not being a particularly good mother to Suzura. And so you're rooting for Suzura to get the animal out of there, because we find out that Yuki is going to be sold to a taxidermist to be kind of stuffed and mounted, basically. So Yuki goes to leave to meet up with Boruto, and we get the sort of standoff outside. Interesting resolution in that Sasuke straight away just was like, hey, I will trade you my new 1,000-mile hawk for that hawk, plus you also basically letting Yuki go, effectively, Suzura go, which she agrees to, which is an interesting thing of letting her son just be like, yep, go, I don't care about you anymore, just for this. Now, that seems like a weird one, Sasuke putting his new hawk into a situation where it's effectively going to be at risk. But the reveal later on in the episode is that he had used the Sharingan on the hawk to basically at some point make it sort of look like it was dead. But then it would reactivate effectively at a different point and go to escape. Because I suppose Sasuke was the only way that this thing's not going to be in a cage is if they have to investigate why it died. And so he's planned ahead and reactivates it at the point where it's about to be sort of cut open. And so it flies around the place, the automatic defenses activate, and seemingly crack open all of the different facilities and allow most, if not all, of the rare animals to escape. And of course the hawk flies back to Sasuke. You do get the whole thing with the guard, who's been the main threat so far, and him finally realizing that, oh yeah, Sasuke is Sasuke Uchiha, and that you should not mess with him because he's a legendary shinobi. And that's more or less the kind of ending on that front of things. Suzura is out on his own. They do basically put him in the care of the guy who's in charge of the 1,000-mile hawks, which was a nice enough connection. And, you can tell he cares about hawks. Here's the guy who's actually going to teach him the exact details, and so it means that for at least another generation, you're going to have someone looking after those hawks. So that was a nice enough ending. But it is rather brief, not too much depth given to it, but nice enough. An example of like not making an arc go on for longer than you have to. So there's that. There was a kind of comment from Sasuke about how, you know, I don't think she's going to take this lying down, so I'm going to kind of leave so that it doesn't bring like the Leaf Village into play. So I'm not sure if that was just a sort of thing where like we are going to come back to this, or what. Because again, this is where like Sasuke goes off, Boruto goes to leave. So I'm guessing it was just like we can't really stick around here any longer, otherwise it will turn into more of an incident. But it did feel like that was realistically the wrap up. So what do they do at the end to set up the next arc? So Boruto goes on a train, and I think you could tell immediately that there was something kind of up here. Just how kind of there's not really many people around. He gets on the train and immediately he's walking to his seat, and there's like a shinobi escorting a prisoner. There's another like young boy shinobi. I think there's another like girl shinobi kind of like lying down on one of the seats. There's a guy with like a briefcase. So they're setting up all these kind of situations of like, it seems like there are ninja from at least a couple of villages on the train here, all for different reasons. Other people who seem to have other important stuff going on. But in general, it doesn't seem like there were any like, say, normal passengers here. So there's some sort of a weird like setup situation going on here. I think that's the only way to explain why there are so many people who seem like you know, capable of performing in whatever challenges this guy at the end from the preview is going to set for them. And so the train goes on ahead. There's a sudden track change, and the train goes off course, and then it's just cut, and Boruto wakes up in like a cage, and they're all in these rooms with kind of like bunk beds, and they're being held prisoner. It's this kind of like Squid Game kind of situation going on here, because again from the preview, the guy is like, oh yeah, there's going to be challenges or something like that to test them and so on. Again, we haven't really got into it just yet. So he says that they were in an accident, and he's like, oh, you've already proven yourselves of surviving the train crash. I don't think the train crashed. I'm guessing there was some sort of a thing where like a gas was released to knock them out, and that's how they were like escorted into this room or whatever. But yeah, it looks like there's a reasonable selection of characters here. I'm guessing Boruto probably will stand out as being one of the more notable characters in terms of his skill set here. So it will be interesting to see if like Boruto actually like excels at these challenges and whatever exact way that works. This could be a fun arc if they just go for sort of Boruto / you know, Squid Games, you know, the whole challenge to escape from this kind of game show type thing. That actually seems like a fun idea, especially if the challenges are actually like interesting and not too kind of like gimmicky. But we will see what happens here. I don't hate this idea. Obviously, I think people would prefer we get to the manga content as soon as possible. I do feel they probably need to let the manga go on a little bit more, because I think when they go back to manga content, you know, they have a little bit of a stopping point. Like there is an arc they can do, but I don't know how satisfying that arc is going to be unless they heavily expand upon it. And then I don't think there's enough content just yet in kind of what happens after that to immediately go into it. Now, maybe by the time they get going, they'll get there, so maybe they can do that. But I personally, my preference would be that if they go into manga content here, that they basically do what happens next up until the time skip. But the problem is with the manga, we don't know when exactly we're getting to the time skip, and there's all that kind of confusion. The next chapter, which is coming out next week, it actually, I think, should be this day next week, it should be a very important chapter for the future of Boruto, but we'll see if it actually delivers on that. Other than that, with the Boruto Sasuke stuff, actually, I do want to mention a little bit about this. I thought it was interesting that we once again had the whole, like, Boruto again clarifies what his goal is. He doesn't want to be Hokage. He wants Sarada to become Hokage, and he wants to be the Sasuke to her Naruto and kind of support her kind of from the background. So that's fine. Boruto basically says to Sasuke, I want to become a shinobi like you. And Sasuke initially has a reaction that is like, I don't think you want to do that. Effectively, I think because you don't know kind of like my full history. You don't know that I was the villain at one point, you know, the full extent of what Naruto did to kind of bring me back. This is where, like, I forget details like this of like, has Sasuke told Boruto or, like, say, Sarada much of anything about exactly what happened? Like, I think Sasuke, like, there was like that arc, the one that has like Urashiki in it. I think when they went to the flashback, I think Sasuke like alluded to some stuff, but I don't think there was ever the full scope of this is exactly what I did. I think there was maybe an allusion to the idea of like, I went off the rails a little bit. Naruto brought me back. But I forget exactly where they're at, because obviously the whole intent, I think, of this scene was to highlight that Sasuke is still, in a way, kind of dealing with the idea of like, well, the reason I'm this sort of traveling shinobi most of the time is because I still, in a way, feel the need to kind of redeem myself for what I did in the past. You don't have that yet, so if you take on that role, you won't be doing exactly that. So there's that whole thing. Boruto does mention, you know, like, Sarada, like, have you told her that you are going to be leaving on another mission and won't be back for a while? Because it was referenced in the previous episode that Sarada was a bit annoyed that she wasn't even asked to come on this mission by her father. So he just says they'll understand and leave. So is there anything there? I'm not really sure. But I thought this was all right. It was just an example of, like, an arc not needing to be longer than it was. And I like that they had a direct transition to the next arc. And I'm somewhat interested to see what they do here. So in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on this episode. Otherwise, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.